In this lesson, we'll be transitioning from our graph to our text question. Okay, so right about here is where our graph is ending and where that question begins. Let's just listen to our audio snippet. I'm going to hit the period key so we can only preview our audio.
So, you may ask, what are some of the causes of the damage? Ha!
So, what are some of the causes of the damage? Let's go ahead and type that statement out. Okay, so we have our statement here, and I think we should make this PF'd in so it's a little more readable. Let's make it that yellow color. Give it no tracking, and let's make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of some of these just to give us some more room. Let's turn back on that title action safe. And I want this to be just right inside of these two pieces right here, these two lines. Right there. Okay, so we've got our text piece, and I want to just transition this graph out using the same scale animation we've been doing. So we're at 96.3. Let's just move forward 10, maybe 15 frames, and we'll take it down to 0. And let's go ahead and have this keyframe be an easy ease out key. Now this is a good example of a time when you don't want to use an easy ease. We just want to use an ease out. Because if we had easy ease, this part of our animation where we have that scale, you wouldn't even be able to see what was happening. It'd be so small. So I want it to hit this keyframe at just a linear pace. So with that keyframe selected, we'll go up to Animation, go to Keyframe Assistant and choose Easy Ease Out. And then we'll go to our graph editor and pull out that handle so that that timing is a little bit better. And we'll straighten this out, pull that handle in so that that's as straight as it can be. Then it's really going to just slowly move out to the end there. Let's get out of that graph editor mode, turn on our motion blur. And you can see that that's just going to go away really quickly.
So, you may have asked. So, you may ask.
Let's make this last just a bit longer. I'm going to pull that forward.
So, you may ask, what are some of the causes of the damage?
Okay, so we want to bring on that what are some of the causes of the damage text. And I want to use an animation preset for the text called Electromagnet. Now, a lot of times animation presets that just come inside of After Effects sometimes can be a little bit hokey. Sometimes they're okay, but this Electromagnet one we're going to be using starts out hokey, but we are going to tweak it a lot and it's going to look great. So let's come up here to Window, go to Effects and Presets, type in Electro, and it's going to be this text one right here under Mechanical. So go ahead and grab that and we'll drop it onto our text. And you see how that works. So it defaults to not the best values for this. It's not even completed its animation. We're just kind of getting a snippet of what's happening in the middle. So let's go in and start tweaking that. So just select your layer and hit the U key, and that's going to bring up the keyframes that have been set on it. And let's figure out where we want it to at least begin and end.
Damage. Some of the causes of the damage.
Okay, so right about there, let's just pull this forward.
So,
and then right about here is where I want that to begin. So I'm going to pull this backwards, and we'll pull this keyframe backwards as well. And then the way that this works is all those keyframes that it sets in this inside part are to make things kind of snap into place. So I'm just going to select both of those and delete them. So now we just have one big set of keys. And we need to get in here and really start tweaking some of these properties. So you can actually just twirl up and twirl down the whole thing. And we're going to be looking at the way this is set up. So right now it's set up so that we have the end at 15%. And that just seems to me like a really arbitrary value. And then it's animated through the offset. So I'm going to turn the end up to 100%. And that's just going to give us a little bit more control. Then we'll come over here to this keyframe and let's pull this offset all the way down to the last place that we see that movement. So that's going to be at about negative 97. If you wanted to, you could just turn it all the way down to negative 100. And then this is going to start for some reason at 80%, so we can take that all the way up to 100. And that's going to give you the most random layout for all of your text. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Now we start to have this look a little bit more gradual and just kind of floating around. But there's some other things I want to change as well. So right now it's set to characters. I'm going to change it to characters excluding spaces. And yours might even be set to words. So you definitely don't want to do it by words because that just really looks a little bit too much like it has a pop in it. So I'm going to come down here a little bit more and let's just see if we can't tweak a few other things. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and tweak that seed to be a little more random. Just kind of maybe have them jumbled in there in the middle a little bit more. That doesn't actually change the way it's moving. It just changes kind of where they're originating from. And let's go into this advanced property. And I'm going to base this instead of words. Let's try just see what it looks like if we base that on characters. Maybe just has a little bit more fluidity to it if we do it that way. And let's also go ahead and come in here where you see the randomize order. If we change that off to off, you'll see that the words come in from one side to the other. So that's up to you. If you want to have them come in kind of in the order that you're wanting that, you can decide whether or not you want it to be random. I actually think it looks a little bit better with that randomized order on, so it's not just coming in a perfect line from one side to the other. Now the way that I want to intro this is to actually have it scaled up so that it kind of zooms down, so it looks like it was behind the camera. So I'm going to come down here and we'll just play with the transformation scale. So select that, hit the S key, and probably want to actually hold shift and hit the S key. Okay, so by the time we get to this last part right about here, I want to have our scale pretty much where it is now. So we'll go ahead and set a keyframe for our scale. And let's move back to the beginning where this first starts, and we'll scale this way, way up. And if you need to, you can randomize that order some more by coming in here and changing the seed so that you can't see them if you're too close. And now you can see how that just kind of looks like letters are floating around really randomly and then they go into place. And again, just changing that seed is helpful to get this to not have to be so close. That looks pretty good. I like that one a lot. So the O kind of comes in almost as just like a foreshadowing. Now yours is going to look different if your seed is different from mine, but as long as your parameters are close, it's still going to look pretty good. So I really like the way that that is looking. And I think that if you wanted to turn motion blur on for this, that would probably be good because some of these start to move really quickly. So just turn that on. Really, really nice. So let's just watch a RAM preview of this through and just see what that transition looks like with our text.
So, you may ask, what are some of the causes of the damage?
So this looks pretty good. Our scale is kind of obvious, so we might actually want to make that a little bit less of a hard hit. So let's just add an easy ease to that. So hit F9, then you can grab your graph editor and maybe just pull that out slightly so it really is not so abrupt. Much better.
So, you may ask, what are some of the causes of the damage?
Much better. So we don't get that hard hit anymore when that scale was finished. And then the letters just continue to appear like they're floating into place really, really nicely. So you can use a preset text effect, tweak some of those options, and really get in there and make things look a lot better than they do if you were just, you know, just drop an electromagnet on there and seeing what happens. So just play around with some of those. There's a lot of really good text effects in that animation preset. And I would definitely encourage you to just try a few and then start tweaking them to really be a lot better than just that original preset that comes ready-made. Now in our next lesson, we're going to come in here and start to bring in a whole new element, which is going to be kind of a little school of fish that are going to swim in. And part of the reason why I wanted this text to animate in the way that it is I wanted it almost to look like it was floating in the water. Then we're going to have our school of text, or our school of fish, swim towards us and kind of bust through this piece of text, sending the letters scattering everywhere. So this is a perfect effect to use that kind of an idea. So we're going to learn how to just create that school of fish in our next lesson.